In today's painting video, we're not using an airbrush, but if you're looking for an airbrush, do check out Gallery. Today, we paint a Native American skin without an airbrush. This is just a test painting of one of the faceplates from our new Kickstarter. This is a 120mm faceplate, and we will also provide smaller 75mm faceplates in the campaign. This is totally a no airbrush painting video. Even the priming was brush painted. However, only the smaller 75mm faceplate painting tutorials will be painted without an airbrush. The skin painting here is via my usual sketch and glaze painting method. We will be painting with the Army Painter paints, Golden Glazing medium, and Foxbite Hobbies Kolinsky Sable brushes. So, join me as we test paint this Native American faceplate via my sketch and glaze method. I'm Don, welcome to my channel. This channel is supported by all these awesome brands. Also, special thanks to the Army Painter for making this video possible. By the way, do check out my discount codes and affiliate links down below. It helps the channel a lot and it will give you some discounts. First, we prime the 3D printed faceplates with a brush-on primer. After a bit of cleanup and sanding, I primed these plates late night. Thus, I cannot use my airbrush since our compressor is an industrial-grade, very noisy compressor. The first time I used this brush-on primer around a year ago, I was really surprised that it works. You thin and apply this primer in around 2 thin coats, let dry in between coats, and watch as the primer self-levels and gives you a nice even finish. My daughter Nico even used this brush-on primer on a Gunpla. I will put the link to that Gunpla priming video in the description below. I then let the primer cure for around 8 hours while I was sleeping. I like doing hobby stuff that needs curing before sleeping, like texture paints, putty work, and priming even way back when I was a Gunpla builder. Before painting the skin colors, I decided to paint the hair and the square plate black. The black non-skin parts will help me focus on the painting of the skin. I am using the Foxbite Hobbies artifact holder to hold the faceplate. But we designed the faceplate to be comfortable to hold during painting, even without a holder. Now we are ready to paint the skin. Since this is a test or practice painting, I played it safe and started the painting with the base color. We start our painting with Sunburst Ochre from the John Blanche paint sets. This is an orange-brown color that has very good coverage. We came up with providing face painting plates in our Kickstarter since there are so many ways to paint skin. There are also numerous skin recipes that you can experiment on in painting different skin tones. It is easy to print or even strip the faceplates since we made sure that there are no easy-to-break parts on our faceplates. Anyways, back to the painting and enough shameless plugging of the Kickstarter. After painting the Sunburst Ochre in 3 thin coats, we now establish the shade areas of the skin. I mixed a small amount of Banshee Brown with Sunburst Ochre for a smoother transition. Since this is a test painting, I limited the painting with just 3 colors, mixing them together to create more colors. Mixing is fun, but I rarely do it here since mixing is more difficult to follow via just watching a YouTube video in my opinion. After painting the initial shade colors with our Sunburst Ochre Banshee Brown mix, we proceed to darken some shade areas with Banshee Brown. We simply continue to establish the shade areas of the skin. Notice that I painted more Banshee Brown on the right side of the face. I like placing my main source of light on the upper left side of any model. Positioning my main source of light to the left instead of center adds more interest to my painting. Once happy with your base shade painting, we can now proceed to layering up towards the highlights. We start the layering towards the highlights by mixing our base color, Sunburst Ochre, with our third color, Amber Skin. Amber Skin is what I like to call a pre-highlight color. Amber Skin is from the Deep Skin Tones triad. We have yet to use the golden glazing medium at this point of the painting process. We are simply mixing colors and sketching them on the faceplate. The smooth transitions in between the different tonal values are produced through mixing of the paints. At this point, we have limited our painting with just 3 colors. Our base color is Sunburst Ochre, then we added shade with Banshee Brown, and painted pre-highlights with Amber Skin. Now, we need to push the highlights a bit more with ivory before glazing. The ivory pushed our highlights and contrast further. Now our skin painting is looking perfect before we refine our sketch via glazes. If you are finding value in this video, do give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Now, we apply glazes to refine and adjust our sketch so far. As mentioned earlier, we are using golden glazing medium with the Army Painter paints. I have a gazillion of acrylic mediums, but I prefer this satin glazing medium these days, especially for skin painting. You may use different colors for the glazing part to add more subtle color depth. You may also use an airbrush for glazing. You just need to mix a small amount of medium to add transparency before you thin the mixture for airbrush use. We will explore airbrush glazing a lot more in future videos. Glazing and highlighting are my favorite parts of painting any miniature. Thus, I love painting skin. I usually apply glazes with a brush and apply them in a painterly manner to create a very subtle buildup of textures. But, as mentioned earlier, you may also glaze with the airbrush. Airbrush is more cost-effective and can give you flawless color transitions. If you are a long-time viewer or subscriber, much more a patron at Patreon, you all know I love using mediums to alter the properties of the paint. But as usual, I have to say water works for glazing since water does work. I just love mediums too much since I find the added properties of mediums very predictable, at least for me. The most important factor with glazing is letting each thin layer dry before applying another layer of glaze on top. Regardless of whether you use a brush, an airbrush, you thin the paints with water or with medium. It is important to let the previous glaze layers dry before building up more layers. Unlike washes though, you may almost instantly use a hairdryer to speed up the drying time. We will discuss glazing in more detail on the Kickstarter. So now, let's wrap up this video. Now, before my final thoughts, a huge thanks to all my patrons at Patreon, Hajime Model Studio, and of course, the Army Painter for making this video possible. I love painting with a brush than with an airbrush. Combining both tools will make your painting more efficient time-wise though. But this painting video is just a test painting of this Native American faceplate. I just wanted to see if the details are good enough for teaching skin painting at our Kickstarter. You saw in this video that we did a lot of sketching. Some people call it blocking or simply layering. Sketching is a matter of identifying where your highlights and shadows fall. Painting by simulating lighting on a bigger scale like the one we used is not the usual way of painting bigger scale models. But the bigger faceplate makes teaching and showing the buildup of colors more effective, in my opinion. Now, glazing is my go-to method when refining my sketching and painting. I find glazing more straightforward than wet blending and more efficient than mixing colors. Mixing paints to introduce more tonal values is fun, but I tend to demonstrate color mixing in my workshops rather than here in my videos. We hope to see you at our new Kickstarter campaign. We have a pre-launch page already, and we plan to launch very soon. We also have an update to the Kickstarter, where people can comment. We always appreciate feedback, especially before we launch. The Kickstarter is titled Skin Painting Masterclass, The Language of Skin Tones. I will put the link to the campaign in the description below. That's it, Pansit. I hope you like this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe and all that stuff. Until next video, guys. Bye! If you like this video, you might like to check out these other videos.